going to install? Let's see. Nearly. Yep, it's going. Come on. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we're done. So you see it's giving me ESLint and prettier.json. These are just configs. This ESLint one runs off the Airbnb styles. And you see right here, it's giving you the red swigglies underneath. You hit save on that and it'll just sort it out for you. It makes it all nice. Likewise, if we go into other files, hit save, boom. It's saying you're not using REST props. Perfect. Okay, well, we'll come into index.js, Jumbotron. Let's spread them on there. And you see we haven't got many, well, we haven't got any red swigglies now. That looks good. So we can close, well, we don't want to close that just yet. Do we have any in here? No, we don't. Style components, no, and close that one. There was the styled one. Well, I just want to fix some responsive issues here. I want to move this ever so slightly. So with a container, I'm just going to paste in a nice media query. That's going to give me the item. By the way, I just want to explain this quickly. You see this one takes item here? Well, you can reference other basically constants within any sort of style component. Just make sure they're above or it will complain. But you see here I'm saying item, which is this at the top, and I'm saying the last of type, which is this one. The margin bottom has to be 50. If I just remove that, let's see what effect it gives. You see here, you have the black here and the black here. There's not so much on this one because of the image, so a quick fix would be just to move that last item, the subtitle, and there it drops it down, which is quite nice. So feel free to, let's just take a look where we currently stand. So let me just refresh this. So we have the borders going across. We have the pane, the subtitle, and we see how this is referenced here. We're mapping over the Jumbotron, so that's good. Yep, that's good. We have the pane, title. So yeah, we have a Jumbotron. That's pretty much it, and we're just mapping over them. They're all going, in this particular case, they're all pointing to the left, which isn't good. So we need to fix that. So I think we're good in terms of responsiveness, but I want this on the left and I want the text on the right. Now, why isn't it doing that? So let's inspect it using the DevTools. This one here, let's see. It's got row reverse on there. But is it coming through? It doesn't look like it, right? So it looks like our maybe flex direction's wrong. Maybe that's the case. Now inner should be in control of this, which we're doing, saying display flex, item center, flex direction. Then we're structuring out direction. But are we putting the direction on the correct item? Let me just zoom out a little bit. So we have item, which is good. Oh, the direction actually has to go on inner. Because we're only using this item for the border, not what's inside. So make sure you have direction on inner. And that should refresh. Pull that out. Perfect. There we go. So that's where we currently are with our Jumbotron. It's on the home page. We're going to have to look at separating out these pages because when we refer to the architecture, we didn't really have, well, we didn't have this set up, right? We had the architecture where we had multiple pages. So I want to quickly show you how we're going to split this out. We're going to look at using something like React Router. We need to set that up. I think it's probably good that we set that up now. And we could probably set up basic authentication or we can just set up basic React router. So I basically want to rip this out of here, and it's only going to be used once for the Jumbotron, that is. And I feel like because it's a big page, not even a page, but like a container, we're containing this. Let's go ahead and just create a new folder called containers. And with this one, let's just say jumbotron.js, Jumbotron, yep. We can then also create a folder for pages. And you would expect in here you're going to have home.js, and that's what we're going to eventually use. So go ahead and create that. I'm just going to close it for now, but we've set that up. So for containers, we have Jumbotron. Now with Jumbotron, let's just go ahead and do, well, basically, let's just rip out, close that. We don't need index.js, but we need app. So let's just rip this apart. We're going to take this, close that. Call this Jumbotron. Should we do a default here? Actually, no, because I'll show you why. Already been declared. So Jumbotron, we're going to change that component to, let's do a named. Let's do a named one for now. And we'll call this Jumbotron container. And it's saying, look, I do not exist. Yeah, and that's fine. And I'll tell you why you don't exist. Right now, let's just keep this here. Actually, no, let's get the Jumbotron container. Jumbotron container. We don't need this no more. But we do need the container. So let's go ahead and import that container. Now, we can just do this. Let's just import take out Jumbotron container from containers, which we just created, Jumbotron. Now let's just also stop ever so slightly. Does this not exist? What have I called this? Oh, there we go. So it should get it. Could not resolve. Module not found. Why? Oh, okay. Jumbotron doesn't exist. So let's just see where we're at. We have containers and we have a component. Now, what I like to do with my components, and depending on if you're using Webpack or whatever particular module bundler you're using, you have to be careful as to what you're pulling in to your bundle for a particular page. And it really depends, but I'm going to create an index.js, and you can just import and export these particular files. So then you can have like relative import. So you can do import blah 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 from components. So you could say component 1, component 2, as opposed to doing them all named, right? Like so. You know, like that, and then you have to specify whatever there. So that might not make much sense, but we're just going to say export default as Jumbotron from Jumbotron. Okay, so we have the index, and this index is going to be our reference to all our components that we create. And now that allows me to get rid of this. And let's see, did we have, I feel like I've probably crashed the application. Can I resolve ESLint? Okay, let me just restart this. Oh, okay, sometimes, by the way, if you run into this issue with pre-flight check, it's basically just a discrepancy between the values that you have globally and what we're installing. So add this in here, skip pre-flight check, do a yarn start. That should work now, hopefully, fingers crossed. Start on the development server, refresh please. Let's see. Here we are. Boom, there we go, and it's working. Perfect. So what we just did, now pay close attention, let's just run over it because this is fairly important. We created a container that had our Jumbo container in there. we went into the app and referenced the container in here. And we have our one source of truth right here for the components, which is going to be the Jumbotron, the accordion, the footer. Everything else is going to live in here. So every component we create, we're going to add it in here too. And then we're going to have containers. Containers are just going to contain all the code. So yes, I could have pulled in that component directly, I guess, into the app.js like here, but why would I want a huge app.js file or any sort of page? I'd rather just say, hey, this is a component. This basically builds my component in full, and I'm going to use it on this page. Whether I use it the once or the twice, it doesn't really matter, because I don't want all this code living in here. So I'm just going to extract it out. So cool, we've managed to create a Jumbotron. I think that's pretty cool. We've housed it within our container. We took a small look at tree shaking by using this particular method. So this is saying export default as Jumbotron. The default is Jumbotron right here. So that allows us to jump back into there to get the default and then re-export it. So it imports it and just immediately says export this out, and people can access it. And I've accessed it by using this, which is nice because I can just call components now and just get out anything I want, whatever's in there. If I happen to have a footer, I can do that too. On the promise that footer is here, like so. Like that. Anyhow, we're going to have a huge file there which has all our components. I think next, let's take a look at building the footer. That'll be a nice simple one. We can crack on with the homepage. So let's do that one now. Right, so for the homepage, we have pretty much started building out some of the main components, such as the Jumbotron. We don't have the header yet. The header is fairly complex because we have to handle state. But we do want to focus right now on the footer. So this is it here. Now the footer is fairly basic in terms of what it does. It just lists a bunch of stuff out, links essentially. There's nothing special going on. There's no state, there's no side effects or anything like that. So we can go ahead. We can keep this here on the left right now. And just for good practice, actually let's not do that just yet, but let's go ahead and create a new component called footer. And we're going to copy, again, the same folder setup. So it's going to say styles, call that styles. We'll create an index.js that goes inside the footer folder. Inside styles, we shall create a footer.js file. Once you have that, jump into source components footer index.js, import React, and then for the footer, it might be good to visualize this. So you're going to need some rows, you're going to need some columns, you're going to need somewhat of a container, and you're going to need, I guess, a title, which is questions, contact us, and then maybe some break here, like maybe 20 pixels margin. So let's jump in and take a look at how we can create this. So as we did with the Jumbotron, we had an export default function. We're going to do this here. So export default function, call it footer. We'll say children and then rest of the props, and we'll get used to doing that. And we'll say we'll return a container. I always like to return a container for the default compound component. And you have these little subcomponents, so footer.column, footer.row, footer.link, title, text, that sort of stuff. I always like to encapsulate all that component within a container, and that's what I'm doing here. Let's say rest props and just pass the children. That's pretty much what we intend to do for the main part. And then we're going to need a footer.row, because we expect to have columns and rows. So it's a function footer row, children, rest props, and we'll return the row with the children inside, and rest props. So as before, we did have quite a bit of duplication, so we can pretty much just go ahead and replace these. Column, make sure you get them all. There we go. And then for the next one, we're going to need a link, because it's going to link off to different pages, I guess. And then we're going to need a title. So we can copy this. Title. And I guess we're going to need some text. So we can take a look at getting some text. And I kind of want to break between, let's have a look. So we have the title, we're going to have some text or links, the text being the Netflix United Kingdom. I want a break between all the links and the bottom bit of text. So I'm going to create maybe just an empty div, or a div that has, actually let's go ahead and just make sure we can get this to work first before I start with the design aspects. So let's import what we need. We've basically called the container, row, column, link, title, text. So that's everything we need. So we can get these now. And then we'll say from styles, footer. Now break's going to come in eventually. I think we should actually just add it now. So, because I do want it to look nice. I want it to be as well as exact as we can make it. Okay, that looks good. So if we go into here, do import styled, from styled components, then macro. Let's see. So I know we have a container, row, column, text. What else did we have? Text, title, break. Okay, we don't need that. Let's just say export const container equals style.div. As I mentioned, I like to wrap everything. Set display flex, padding 70. Again, you don't have to really care too much about the CSS. You know how to use style components now. Flex direction column, media max width 1000 pixels, padding 70 pixels, 30 pixels, and we'll set export default column equals, that's going to be a div. You know, we need to yeah, it should be a div. I don't see why not. Flex direction column, text align left. Okay, that looks good. Oh, default. Export const, make sure that's const. So just to take a quick break and go over what we've done, we've created two, I guess we've got a style component with two things inside, container and column. We're going to use these within our compound component, what we just put together. And you will see a lot of duplication in terms of what this is doing. But, you know, it's fairly precise in saying, okay, if you want the text, just do footer.text. So it's quite a nice design pattern. You don't have to use this in your projects. I just thought it'd be a good example to try something different. So if we go ahead and say we'll use the row, and the row is going to be a grid, and if you haven't used grid, it's fairly nice. And you can basically say, have me a min max of 230 pixels with 1 FR, which is also in a grid gap, so we want some gap between. Now this is not a CSS course by any means, so I wouldn't focus too much on the CSS. We're here for React. If that goes smaller, I get, well, up to 1000 pixels. I want it to be 150. Yeah, this is not a CSS course by any means. This is going over React and how we can build a, actually it's a link, isn't it? How we can build a real project using React. Let's see here. So style.a, I'm using a style component here to say, look, this is going to be a link. 757575. If you don't care too much about the CSS, just skip forward. Once I'm done with this file, we can start then pulling this into the into the home page and every other page. To be honest, we need to start looking at how we can template our pages And the reason we want to template our pages is because there's things like the footer that are actually used by who? Oh, by every page. Font size 16. I'm going to steal this color. So we need to look at React Router very shortly. And the text, let's just get this. Hopefully this is not too boring for people who already know CSS. Let's see, so we have margin bottom. Let's have a break here, and the break can help us with just breaking up the page. Flex basis 100, height 0. Okay, don't worry too much about the CSS. We've got some style components now. Well, we've got a style component called footer. We can utilize this through our compound component, which is here. So if we want to use the footer, well, like with the Jumbotron, we realize that it's a lot of content, and we don't always want to, even though it's only one page, we don't want to paste all that onto the page when we've got other components on there. So I feel like with the footer, this is an appropriate use case of a container. So we're going to use a container, but firstly make sure that you export your footer here so we can use it. You can call it directly if you like, but we are building a small component library. So where are we? Jumbotron container. Let's create a container, close down our components, containers, and we can call this footer.js. And within here we can call React, and then we can set input footer from, and because we've just exported it in here, we can call this directly. And we'll set export function footer container return footer, and it allows us to use children, so we'll set footer.title, and we can just pass in what we want. Questions, contact us. Okay, so now we want to make sure that this is actually working, and we are going to be refactoring app shortly, but not right now. So let's say footer container, and if you didn't see what just happened, VS Code just auto imported this for me, so make sure you have this imported up here. Here we are, so we have something. Okay, I'll just leave it about there because I need to be able to see how we can do this. So we need a break, so set footer.break. And then this one's quite tedious because we've got to do all the links. So we'll say footer.column, and a column will have a lot of links. So the best way to do this, by the way, we can pass a href down to the footer. Let's see, footer link takes so it takes rest props, right? So we're spreading the href onto the style component, which is link. If we go in here, we see it's an a tag, and it'll take the prop of a href, which is nice. Next, link. So we're going to need a few of these, and before we do, just set them to a hashtag. And the first one will be FAQ, investor relations, where's to watch, and there's corporate information, then Netflix originals. Okay, so what have we got? Okay, look, we have something coming up. That's nice. It seems fairly small though. We'll get that and we'll double check it because it does seem fairly small. So FAQs, make that a bit bigger. We can get rid of that. Help center, jobs, terms of use. What was the next one? Contact us. Delete that one. That one looks good. You see how it's just nicely placed because we're using flex. Here, let's do account. Let's see, what's this one? Jobs. Redeem, gift, cards. Privacy, speed test. Do you see how we're using the compound components and just doing like .footer.link? It's quite nice. I do like this way. I'm not saying everyone should use this, by the way. It's just, I don't know, it's quite nice. So we've got the redeem gift cards. Let's say buy gift cards, and then we'll say cookie preferences, legal notices. Okay, so that seems to work, and it goes down. It jumps a bit. I mean, it looks okay, but just make sure. Maybe we can make that just a bit bigger. So, is that the text? Let's have a look. This is why it's good to have the style components macro on. By the way, if you're on a Mac and click Command Shift C, it automatically gives you the inspection tool. There we are. And just click on it. So yeah, the link. Okay, the link's 13. I think maybe we'll make that 14. See? Yeah, it looks a bit better. And then it gets down to here. It kind of drops. What's that at? 1,100. It kind of drops there. I wonder what we should do. Should we fix it or? That looks fairly okay. Let's see what the flex is currently at when it does that. Well, sorry, not the flex, the grid. So the grid's at 300. Let's pull this up. So it's at 300 currently. If we click on the row, actually 230. It's at 230. Where's 230 in here? There. Let's just see how bad it gets when we do refresh this. 230, we could probably drop that down to 210 actually. Let's see. Okay, that looks better. Somewhat, it looks okay. It'll do. Yep, it'll do for now. I think that's good. Okay, so we have the footer. I think it looks fairly good. It's not too bad. It is fairly small. Let's have a look at what we were aiming for. Yeah, so we need the text at the bottom, Netflix United Kingdom as well. Okay, let's pull this over. Go back to the containers. And let's just demonstrate what happens if we do footer.text. See. That's not too bad. I wonder what happened if the break was working like I'd expect. Does it give me like some pixel? Yeah, that's better. It gives me a break in between. I'm going to zoom in on this sort of stuff, by the way. If I don't, and I've forgotten, please leave a comment and yell at me. So it's looking okay right now, I think. What are we missing? Let's look at the designs. So we've got the Jumbotron, we haven't got the header. We need the, looks like we need the accordion at this point, but with the accordion we're going to have to start managing state, and this is where we can start looking at some of the inner workings of React, which would be nice. So we have done the Jumbotron, we've done, you know, I've shown you how to do somewhat of the tree shaking method where it's like components in here. We've built the footer, we've styled the footer. So I think now, just to like kind of continue on with the homepage, I think it'd be good if we did the FAQs. And the FAQs is built in a fairly light manner where we have a fixture and we're going to be using the fixture to build this out. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to build an accordion and just provide the accordion with a title and then a description, which is basically the header and the body in this. And we're going to be mapping over. So we've got an ID in here for the key, which is nice. And then we'll build this nice input box that has a red button and just some disclaimer at the bottom. And we can utilize that not only here, but within the header as well. So we get our first reusable component. Okay. Yep. Let's take a look. Let's basically close these down. We are in a position where app doesn't really make sense anymore for what we're trying to achieve. So we will be looking at that. I guess let's look at the accordion next, and then let's look at maybe the opt-in form, which is on the page, and we can reuse that. And then we can start looking at how we can use React Router for pages. Okay, so now it's time to create this accordion, and when you click it, we want to change the X to a plus, or the plus to the X, depending on what state you're in. So let's jump back to the Netflix homepage. Okay, that's good. Components, same thing. Let's do accordion. Go ahead and create index.js and create a folder called styles, and then we can call it accordion.js. Cool. So let's go ahead and import React. And then what we can do, we need a few things in here. So before we get going in terms of state, let's just do the default export. So export default function accordion, get the children, rest of the props. As always, let's get a container. Spread the rest of the props on there to honor any sort of props that get passed down by a user who wants to consume this. And then inner, we'll just pass the children. So we don't have these, and obviously it's going to complain. Right now, let's do accordion dot title. So we're going to need a title. If we just have a look at this, we can kind of see from the design. We need a title, some body. I need the item itself, so we'll call it item. Like each one of these will be an item. This bit here, I'll call this a header. This bit here, maybe body. And yeah, that's it. But we're going to have to keep track of what state's happening. So we can do that by obviously use state. Now, how do we pass state between each subcomponent? Well, let me show you. So let's just get these set up first, and we'll say return title, rest props, children. Cool. So we're going to need a frame too, so let's get a frame. Just copy and paste that. Again, select all, there's 4 of them, so if you hit Command D or whatever it is to select that word and do that in multiples, go ahead and do that. So, so this is going to be a nice one because we get to do some logic. So let's get this. We're going to call it item. So item is going to be the primary container for this. And the reason it's going to be the primary container is because this is where all, I guess, the state is going to be passed and give the user the ability to toggle. So let's have a look. Let's do use state, and we'll say toggle show and set toggle show, and use state will begin with false. Cool. Well, at some point we're gonna have to create these styles, or else it's not gonna be that helpful. We can get this. Change that to header. Don't need that. This is being the header. And we're gonna need some on click here. So on click. So when you click on the header, which is this here basically, it's gonna switch this. Switch that icon. Let's see. So just on click, set toggle, and we want the previous state here. Let's just put that there for now. We don't have a set toggle, but we want to consume it inside here. So how do we get this inside here? Well, context, right? So I'm gonna use context. So if you come up top, say const toggle context equals create context. Now, if we do use context and create context, we should be in a good position to consume this. But how do we now? Because each one of these, let's have a look. Each one of these has its own state, and this is the item. So I think if we go ahead and maybe start, yeah, we'll start off in here. And then when the header's clicked, we can toggle this. And you want to be able to have the same state across the entirety in the sense that if it's open or if it's closed. So with the set toggle, it's coming in as false, and we want to switch it so it could be true or false. So let's pass down, so we have toggle show. So now we have to pass this by using a provider, so we can do that here. So I said toggle context.provider. And the value we're going to pass is toggle show, set toggle show. Close that. Get this, put that there. Cool, that looks nice. Okay, so we have the provider, which is wrapping the item, which is going to basically consume everything. I'm just hoping this isn't confusing. So we have the toggle context, which is going to be the item. Let's just go a bit slow with this one. So here we want to now get these values, and we have wrapped this provider. So within this bit here, the item, when we call this, I'm going to be passing the header in as a child. So it's going to be wrapped within the provider. The issue is, how do we get that information in here? So to do that, we can just structure out toggle show, set toggle show equals use context and then toggle context. And that, my friends, is going to be consumed from up here because it's in the same file. Okay, so we have this set toggle. So we want to set it, if it's open, we want to close it. If it's closed, we want to open it if the user clicks on it. So we want to set the toggle show. Let's see here. Toggle show, toggle show. So that's weird, right? What's this saying? Set toggle. Oh. Set toggle show is already declared. That's fine. Even though it's already declared, you can peek this off, by the way, with ESLint. So I'll click disable, and it adds it up here and says, don't complain at me when I have a duplicate variable. And this is basically, now why didn't I just do this? So you see this often, and I am guilty of doing this too. That's going to basically say, toggle show, do the inverse. So if it's true, set it to false. Now that's fine, and this will work 99% of the time. But there is a but here. Sometimes, depending on how much state you have within your application, React will batch these. So what I mean by that is, if you set the toggle to, say the toggle's false, and then you set it, so a user comes in, clicks it, sets it to true, but there's so many, there's a render happening, there's things going on the page, there's many states changing, React will be like, okay, this is a lot that's changing, I'm just going to wait until I get all the other variables and all the other state together, and then I'll switch it. But if a user hits it again, the value will be different. So you have to use this right here, basically saying take the previous state. The previous state could be false or true, but let's say it's false, and then do the inverse and switch it to true. If you do get caught with the batching, you'll get some weird experiences where it may already be open, and then you click it and it stays open. So that's why you want to pass the previous state, and that's what we're doing right here. So toggle show is assigned but never used. Is that true? We'll test it in a second. So we need the body as well. Let's do accordion dot body equals function accordion body children rest props. Let's see. Const, and we'll just get out toggle show from the use context of toggle context, and then return, and just basically say, okay, if toggle show is true, give me the body, which is, let's see, this bit here with the text. And then if it's not, well, we're going to spread the rest of the props anyhow. Children, pass whatever you want inside. Else, just null, return null. Okay, so we've got a bunch of stuff going on here in terms of what we need to create for our style component. Okay, so we've done quite a bit here. There's a lot of logic going on. Let's do import container, frame, title, item, inner, header, body from styles. Is it what did we call it? Accordion. Don't want the JS. And does accordion exist? Oh. What's this named? Unable to resolve path? Are you kidding me? What do I call this? Oh. That's a weird VS Code bug. Okay, a new file. I always thought you could just add the file name at the end. Okay, maybe not. Import styled from styled components macro. Okay, that should have fixed itself by now. Yep. Sometimes if you get that little squiggly line, just delete the line and it'll get rid of it. So all this stuff's not found. Okay, so what we've got in here, we've got the frame, item, title, header. I mean, it looks fine for now. But we do need to style this accordion. And the accordion is not going to be too bad to style. But again, if you don't want to sit through all the styling, go ahead and just skip this, because soon we're going to be looking at how we can, well, basically make this come alive. We need a frame as well. Let's see, frame. Inner is where I like to do my trick. And my trick, by the way, for the container is like this. So if I have a container which is like this size, I need to be careful with how I draw this. I don't want it to look rude. And basically, let's get rid of this. This is going to be my inner bit here. Like this is going to be the inner. Get rid of this. So we could have like the full width, and then inside you've basically got maybe 800 pixels where it can just sit inside, and that's what you'll see. Let me see here. So like this is going to be 1,000 pixels maybe, and then this maybe 600 or 800, depends. Let's see. Okay, get rid of that. And I always like to do this, and I'm not too sure if other people do it, but it's just kind of something I've done over the years and just stuck with. So semantic element h1 div. Boom. We need the item. The item's very important. So item. We also need a header. If you see, most of this stuff is just divs. Maybe the title. Yeah, the title's a h1. We've got the header. Now we need the body. So let's put that here. Okay, this is going to be quite a big one in terms of the styling. But before we do this, I think this is going to be working. Look, you see this squiggly lines here? Watch, it's saying it's not found. But it is found. But if I just go ahead and delete those, bring them back, without even saving, it just works. Okay, so let's just test this. I know I'm getting this squiggly line here. I think it's probably because it's scoped in here. But strangely, I bet if I just get rid of that. You see? It says it's used. Strange. So the accordion's going to be basically the FAQs, right? That's what we're going to be using it for. And yes, we're not going to be using it on more than one page, but I feel like it's similar to the Jumbotron in the fact that it's going to have a lot of data, or at least a fair amount. I don't just want to put it on one page like that, so I'm probably just going to containerize it and say FAQs.json. And we can pull out, one thing we didn't do. Let's get the FAQs data first. FAQs data from, let's see, fixtures, yep. FAQs, okay. Then import React. Then let's get the accordion from components. Cool. Doesn't exist, right? I'm sure it doesn't exist, maybe. Did we add it? No, we didn't. So we need to add it here. Accordion. Accordion. There we go. Was that too fast? I've just added it basically in here, which is going to be our little reference for all the libraries, all these components, and we can just use this method for it. Okay, so next, export function, FAQs container. Now, why am I not using a default here? Did I use one for the Jumbotron? I didn't. Okay. What is that called? Just call it like so. Okay, that's fine, I guess. You don't have to always export as default, but that's it comes out personal preference. But let's get the accordion going. Let's see what we're working with. So we have to build it in accordance with, I guess, what we've got on the design. And I imagine the first bit is the frequently asked questions. Yeah, so first one is this big one here, this huge one. So I know this is hard to see. So let's just say we need a header. Each one is going to be like an item, isn't it? But each one's going to have. Let's have a look. Accordion.frame. Let's use a frame and just see. Why would we need a frame? The frame is like the pane as a but with this one it's 100%. But the item could do that, I guess. Okay, I think I know why. Let's use the item and I'll show you why. Oh, maybe? I don't know. Let's see. Let's do the map. FAQs data.map. You can probably just do this type map. That's a snippet from my VS Code tutorial, by the way, if you want that. And we'll go ahead and do accordion.item. And then item. Let's see, accordion. Item. Did we do an item? Yeah, we did. So this is where we're going to be looking at utilizing state. And you see it takes children, and the children just get passed down into an item. Each item is using context, so it has a provider. It's wrapped. So do accordion.header. Item.header. Remember to add your key. There we go. And then body. Let's make sure to change this to body. Not biddy, body. And does this change? Oh, we haven't done anything with the FAQ. So let's jump back to app. Put it here. What should we call this actually? Should we call it FAQs container? That's pretty much what it is, isn't it? FAQs container. So watch this, by the way. So this is a nice little plugin too. So FAQs container, it says on the right, auto import from containers FAQs. I hit tab, it auto imports right there. It's good for us lazy people. There we are. So we have it, but there's no styling. That's fine. But we have the data coming out, which is what we wanted. And you see it's not sat in the middle. If I pull it all the way to the right. So let's do that. So yeah, you see it's not sat in the middle. Okay. But we do want it sat in the middle. And I want a different background, like a light grey. So you see this light grey background here? That's kind of what I want. So let's do that. Just thinking if there's anything else that we've missed. So we've got the accordion in place. We have the item. Okay, let's just go and look at the styles. I feel like most of this should work. We have the default one set up, like the semantic elements, as in the divs and everything else. Actually, let's just save, hit save on that. Okay. Refresh, yeah, we're refreshing, good. Border bottom, APX solid. 222. Do we get a nice border? Okay, somewhat, but that's on the container itself, so we have to get some margin in between. The item. Oh, we didn't get inner. Let's put the inner here. Display, flex, padding, 7045 pixels, flex direction, column, max width, 815, margin, auto. Cool. Let's see what that does. Does that bring? Yeah, it brings us in the middle. Nice. Okay, let's make that title. This one similar to this up here. It was called title, right? Yep. Font size 50 pixels, line height 1.1, margin top 0, margin bottom 8 pixels, color white, text align, center, media, max width 600 pixels, then a font size of 35. Now, I went a bit quick there, but I'm sure people are getting pretty bored of the CSS. Most people, I imagine, and I apologize if you are trying to learn the CSS, but this is probably not the tutorial for that. There's many there's tons of tutorials on CSS out there, and they can explain it better than I can. Basically, we're just filling in our style component at this point to make it look somewhat nice. Okay, I'm trying to think what's next. Inner item, header. Header's going to be, I guess, quite a large one. What about the frame? Does the frame need doing? We get a nice quick win. So let's see what happens. I kind of want some padding at the bottom or margin. Does that add some margin? Oh yeah, adds a bit there, which is nice. Okay, let's go with the header. I know it's going to be a large one. Display flex, justify, content, space between. So I don't even know if we need somewhat of a, I'm trying to think. We do need a close button on here as well, an open and close button. So for the header, we do need an open and close button, something I have forgotten. So accordion, let's go in here. Yeah, so we've got a header here, but we need to utilize what toggle state we're in. So even though we got the children, the reason I did space between over here is because on the header, I want a space between the question and the X or the plus. So I need to know what state I'm in. And the way to do that is we have toggle show. So we can say if toggle show is true, bring me the image. By the way, these are the ones that you got at the start. Close slim.png, and we'll just say alt close. Else, bring me the, well, at least show the image. Icons, add, alt open. Let's see if we get some images, and that basically tells us what state we're in. Are they? Okay, so now I think, oh, it opens, but you get that jerking where it goes to the left and the right. I don't like that. At least we know the set toggle's working, that's good. But yeah, it seems to be jerking to the left and the right when it's opening up the body, which tells me we're going to probably have to lock this body in here somehow. But first of all, let's do the header. So we'll say cursor pointer, so it kind of indicates that you should click. Margin bottom 1, font size 26, font width normal, background 3, there we go. Padding is a weird one. Let's do 0.8 EM. Like I said, most of these are just taken from, this is, okay, so if you don't know what padding is here, this is basically saying top, right, bottom, left. So you could just do, and it should be the same. Ooh, look at that. Ain't that nice? We need to align that in the center there. I don't want the user to be able to select it, so a nice little trick in CSS, just put user select none. And now this should center them. Align item center. Boom, there we go. Okay, and by the way, this I'll take slowly. You can change the color of these icons even though they're a PNG. So brightness 0, invert 1. Give it a width of 24. As a media query, just say when up to 600 pixels, I want you to be 16 pixels. And media max width 600. Generally with my media queries I try to match size changing throughout the app. Oh, by the way, look at that. It's got a cursor, you cannot select it, and it's got a nice plus. Cool. I want to try a little trick here. So let me dump out. So the toggle show. So here we have the header. And I believe in React you could probably do this to dump out the state. So you can say pre-json.stringify, let's say toggle show null 2. I think that might work. There you are, look, it's bringing out what state it's in. That's nice, right? So true, true, false. Pretty cool. I don't like how it moves the body, but I'm going to have to fix that. So if you want to know what state something's in without having to open up the DevTools, you can basically dump out the state right there. Okay, so next let's work on that body because it's giving us a bit of trouble when it is opening and closing. So let's close this. Max height is... I don't think we need that max height in all honesty. Why Netflix added that on there, I will never know. Can have a nice transition. Font size 26. Font weight normal. Line height normal. Background basically the same as the top one. Could have probably done it on the... Oh no, we couldn't because we have a nice separation. C, EM, EM. White space, pre-wrap, user, select, none. And that's the body. Bit of a media query again, 600 pixels, font size 16, line height 22. Boom. Let's see where we're at now. It still opens, that's really annoying. Why is it doing that? Did I get the... Oh, this is wrong here. 8 AM, 1.2 AM. I don't know why that's doing that. It's like it's opening and it shouldn't be. That's a bit frustrating. I don't like that. So let's debug that together. So we have the accordion. So we have the inner, and I don't want the inner to expand. I'm giving it a max width of 815, but it's only coming to 760. So if I put a max width of 600, no, you can't do that because that's the inner itself. So let's just revert that. Has to be on the item. Let's see. Maybe we set... I'm going to have to close this a bit over here. And apologies if you can't see that too well. But the DevTools are fairly important at the moment. So this one is 670. Now maybe if I set a max width here of 670 pixels, which is on the header, but I don't feel like it would matter on the header. It would be the item. There, on the item. Okay. That was really annoying. We couldn't have that. Let's test this now. Close down the DevTools. I click. It opens. Nice. Anywhere on the header you can click. That's nice. I do like that. Now, what do you think about having this bold? Like, let me know in the comments. I feel it's nice as it is now. It's not too intrusive.